Ever since cameras were invented, we've been snapping away photos non-stop. Today, almost every minute of our day gets posted on social media, and most of those involve pictures. Some images are captivating, most are mundane, but on occasion there are those that reveal something scary, unexplained, or even sinister. These are 5 of the scariest and most frightening images ever captured. Number 5. Joe Martinez and the Demon Dog. Joseph and Patty have been married for a long time, and like any married couple, they've had their ups and downs. In 2007, Joseph had been struggling heavily with drugs, and it was taking a toll on him and his marriage, but appearances were still kept. On November 6th of that year, the two attended Patty's parents' 50th anniversary. It was like any family party. There were glasses clinking and people talking. Both Patty and Joseph were all smiles when a relative snapped their photo. Joseph didn't see or feel anything unusual at the time, but what he saw right after the picture was developed changed his life. The image shows the pair dressed in a tux and a dress. At first glance, there was nothing different or unusual about it, until Joseph looked closely over his shoulder. Hovering right above was what appeared to be some sort of demon dog-like creature. When his wife saw it, she told him, "Man, you're really walking with Satan." The couple can't explain what it was, as they didn't have any dog behind them during the time the picture was taken. Martinez says he believes it could be none other than the devil himself. John Davenport, a 20-year photo expert, was able to examine the image and said that it hasn't been tampered with and looks authentic. The image has been studied by different paranormal investigators as well, and they all don't know exactly what to make of it. After Joseph saw the creature, he was scared straight. Convinced it was a demon, he was able to stop doing drugs completely. He now keeps the picture inside his wallet at all times to remind him of the darkness that drugs brought to his life, and has been clean and sober ever since. Number 4. The CANDYMAN'S 29th victim. 28. That's the number of victims serial killer Dean Corll and his accomplices supposedly killed. But it seems there may have been a 29th unidentified victim. Corll was known as the Candyman and the Pied Piper because he would give out free candy to kids, especially young teenage boys. Soon he developed an unusually close relationship with 2 of them, David Brooks and Elmer Henley. The 2 would help him commit his murderous deeds by luring their friends or other boys into his home. His hunting grounds were north of Houston, Texas, and Brooks helped him from the onset. Henley was initially lured to the home as a victim, but for some reason, Corll decided he would make a good accomplice as well. Soon, Brooks and Henley would be actively looking for boys to abduct, collecting $200 for each one they brought in. The victims would be drugged or given alcohol, and afterwards they'd be tied to a torture board. This was an 8x3-foot piece of plywood with handcuffs on the corners. The boys would be sodomized and tortured before being killed and then eventually buried. Some of the victims were shot, others manually strangled, and on occasion even Henley and Brooks would partake in the murders. Eventually, though, it was Henley himself that killed Corll when they got into an argument after the Candyman tried to kill 2 of Henley's friends. Henley confessed to everything when he was arrested and has helped investigators track down most of the bodies. Both Brooks and Henley are currently serving out life sentences. It's always been believed that Dean Corll killed 28 victims in total, but when a filmmaker named Josh Vargas decided to create a movie about the serial killer, he discovered something that may have been overlooked. He discovered an old Polaroid photo among the possessions of Henley, Corll's accomplice. When Vargas interviewed Henley's mother about making the film, she told him that she had boxed up all of his items and placed them inside a school bus left out in an overgrown field. Vargas, with her permission, went there and started sorting through his things. Inside, he found the picture of a young blonde boy. In the photo, you can see him on Corll's floor. He's in handcuffs and in some unusual contraption. Right beside him is Corll's toolbox with all the implements he is known to have used when he tortured his victims. The picture was shown to Henley, but he can't remember the boy. He did say it must have been taken in 1972 or 73, right after he got his Polaroid camera. To this day, no one knows the identity of this young boy, and it's possible he could be the 29th victim, whose family has either passed on or is yet to ever see it. Number 3. The Black Knight Satellite. The Black Knight Satellite is the name given to a mysterious object captured by NASA that was orbiting the Earth in 1998. According to conspiracy theorists, the satellite is of extraterrestrial origin and has been orbiting the planet for 13,000 years. Even though NASA states it's likely space debris, many still believe it's an actual alien satellite. The origins of the Black Knight theory date back to when Nikola Tesla announced he had managed to capture radio waves from space in 1899 after building his high-voltage radio in Colorado Springs. In 1928, a team conducting experiments in Oslo, Norway, also captured the same signals, and several other astronomers in the 1930s also professed the same. By 1957, an unusual object was seen shadowing Sputnik 1, and it was seen to be in polar orbit. During that time, neither the Russians nor the US had any capacity to build a spacecraft that could go in polar orbit. This specific type of orbit is used when observing Earth over time, or Earth mapping, so it seems that the Black Knight would be some sort of reconnaissance satellite if you believe that's what in fact it is. The mysterious satellite was again spotted to be in polar orbit in the 60s, and they used this as a chance to study it closely. Scientists and astronomers calculated that the satellite weighs over 10 tons. Pictures of it were taken, and the Grumman Aircraft Corporation formed a committee to figure out what it was, but the results weren't released to the public. When astronaut Gordon Cooper was launched into space in 1963, he reported seeing a glowing green object right in front of his capsule. He radioed it in to base, and the object was picked up on their radar. However, when Cooper landed, there was a media blackout, and his reports were lost, and so they don't show up in any of NASA's transcripts. Meanwhile, a researcher from Scotland said he managed to decode the original radio messages sent by the mysterious satellite, and it states that the Black Knight is indeed extraterrestrial and hails from the star system of Epsilon Boötis and sent 12,600 years ago. NASA released official photographs in 1998, and the military is keeping a watchful eye on it. The images were taken by astronauts on board the Space Shuttle Endeavour. However, to this day, no one knows for sure what the object is or where exactly it came from. Number 2. Explore John Torrington's body. The story of John Torrington's body may not be scary or frightening, but it is nonetheless fascinating. John Torrington served as a petty officer and a Royal Navy stoker who joined the doomed expedition of Sir John Franklin in a bid to find a Northwest Passage en route to Asia in 1845. However, Torrington, along with 2 others, died early on in the expedition and were subsequently buried on Beechey Island. The Franklin expedition actually involved 2 ships, the HMS Terror and the HMS Erebus. Before sailing, the 2 ships were equipped with provisions said to last the men for at least 3 years during their voyage. However, they would never complete their mission. It wasn't until 1850 when the remains of a hut and some food and the graves of 3 men were found. More than 100 years after that, in 1976, it was rediscovered, and the Beetle Commission decided to find out what caused their deaths. To do this, the bodies would need to be exhumed from the frozen permafrost and samples taken. With extensive permission acquired, Torrington's body was chosen because it was believed he was the first one to have passed away. It was tricky to exhume the body as a layer of ice had covered the coffin since it was buried over 130 years ago. However, with patience and careful ingenuity, the team finally reached the coffin. They took out the frozen nails one by one and lifted the cover to find the perfectly preserved remains of John Torrington. A hand-painted plaque nailed on the coffin lid read, "John Torrington, died January 1st, 1846, aged 20 years." Torrington's body was impeccably preserved. He was wearing a striped button-down shirt, and his limbs were tied with linen strips, a common practice to help retain the shape. His feet and hands were all perfectly preserved as well. A cloth was covering his face, and after carefully removing it, they found the face of John Torrington staring right back at them. His eyes were still a vivid pale blue, and his joints still flexible. When they undressed him, they discovered that he was very ill before his death. He weighed only 85 pounds, and it was found that he likely suffered from tuberculosis along with pneumonia. What's most telling was that there was an increased level of lead found in his fingernails and hair. The team concluded that John died from pneumonia with lung complications as a result of lead poisoning. This actually provides credence to the theory that the Franklin expedition was doomed from the start. The provisions they had packed were stored using lead cans instead of steel, so it's likely that the crew slowly died from lead poisoning without ever even knowing it. Number 1. Travis Alexander. California native JODI ARIAS became known throughout the country for the brutal murder of her ex-boyfriend Travis Alexander. JODI and Travis met in 2006 at work and began speaking on the phone every single day. They exchanged over 82,000 emails during the course of their relationship, and they officially began dating in February of 2007. They broke up though by June of that year, with JODI saying it was jealousy on both sides that caused it. By December, Travis began dating another girl. He told friends that JODI got so jealous that she slashed 2 of his car tires on 2 different occasions. In June of 2008, Travis also told his friends she may have hacked his Facebook account and that he had told her to stay away from him altogether. On June 4th, JODI went to Travis's house and the two had sex. Apparently, they had maintained a sexual relationship despite being broken up. When questioned about his death, JODI initially denied having been in the house at all that day, but police later on found Travis's phone in the washer. It had been waterlogged, but they were able to recover several images taken on June 4th, the day Travis was killed. On one of the images, JODI was seen naked, lying on his bed. There were also graphic images of the two, and the last photo of him alive was recorded at 5:30 p.m. Succeeding photos showed him bleeding on the floor. His body wouldn't be discovered until June 9th when his friends came by his house to check on him. A picture of him in the shower is the last image of him alive. It was determined that Travis was stabbed more than 30 times, his throat was slit, and he was also shot in the forehead. Forensic evidence placed JODI at the scene of the crime, so she changed her story and said that she had witnessed 2 men attacking Travis while she cowered in fear. Then later on, she changed her story yet again, claiming she did indeed murder Travis, but only in self-defense after he tried to attack her. After a complicated trial where the entire proceedings were aired on national television, JODI was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison in 2013 without the possibility of parole. So there were 5 of the scariest and most frightening images ever captured. We snap away pictures daily without much thought, and every now and then an image is captured that tells us much more than we ever could have imagined. If you like this video, then please subscribe to our channel, and every week we'll bring you a new Scary Mysteries video to enjoy. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.